Thousands gather on the streets of Atlanta tonight, paying tribute to an urban music legend.
40-year-old Shawty Lo tragically passing away in a car wreck this morning.
Shawty tragically passed away early Wednesday morning in a car wreck off I-285 southbound. Officers say Shawty was driving when he lost control, went over a guardrail, and hit a tree.
I want y'all to try to tell me what rapper from Atlanta do you think really lived the street life and rapped about it from Atlanta? Shawty Lo, that's the...
Shawty Lo beat the streets. Real talk, he wasn't supposed to make it out of Bankhead, let alone get rich off Laffy Taffy and run Atlanta for a decade. He had money, respect, houses, cars, 12 kids by 10 different women, and somehow still made time to clown T.I. on wax. But Lo didn't die in beef. He didn't get lined up in a club. He died flipping his Audi on a dark stretch of I-285, and what happened after the crash is what really pissed the streets off.
Rest in peace, Shawty Lo. Today we just found out that the girls that were with him that night, reckless, done snatched out all of Shawty Lo's bread out of his car.
Because while Lo lay there, half-conscious, barely breathing, the two girls he was riding with, La Rosa Theus and Destiny Gamble, didn't call for help. They allegedly looted his pockets, grabbed his chains, his cash, maybe even his rings, and dipped. Just like that.
Now, Lo was ejected from the vehicle and died here on the scene. There were two other people in the car, two women. They actually were able to escape the car.
Reckless, they got reckless names like Darnisha, Shaquita. Left him with $16 in his pocket. I know the just left Blue Flames, but he left with more than $16.
The night Shawty Lo died and got robbed. September 21st, 2016.
Able to escape the car, and they're okay. They're in the hospital at Grady. They are believed to have a non-life-threatening.
It was just another Atlanta night, or so it seemed. Shawty Lo, the Bankhead general, had pulled up to his favorite spot, Blue Flame Lounge, the same way he always did. Clean, low-key, and shining. No entourage, no security, just him, his white Audi A7, and two women in the passenger seats, La Rosa Theus and Destiny Gamble. To outsiders, they looked like a party. To those who knew, it was routine. Lo wasn't just a rapper, he was Bankhead royalty. A man who had seen death, beat indictments, built a rap empire, and still showed love to the same streets that raised him. But somewhere after 2 a.m., that ride home turned into a funeral.
Carlos Walker crashed his white Audi around 285 near Cascade Road area after leaving a nightclub with two friends. Now, Fulton County police say the Audi swerved off the road.
As they cruised down I-285 near Cascade Road, witnesses say the Audi hit high speeds, then suddenly swerved, slammed into a guardrail, flipped off the road, and ejected Shawty Lo through the sunroof. He wasn't wearing a seatbelt. His body hit the concrete with force. Reports later revealed massive head trauma. His Audi caught fire. The two women? Barely a scratch. But here's where things turn from tragic to downright foul. Instead of calling 911, instead of helping him, La Rosa and Destiny allegedly looted his body. Yes, while he was dying on the pavement. According to the police report, the women were seen taking cash, jewelry, and possibly even his phone. No CPR, no panic, just straight-up robbery while his blood soaked the highway. The first responders couldn't believe it. The city didn't want to believe it. The man who helped put Atlanta trap music on the Billboard charts, who repped Bowen homes when others pretended to be from there, who fathered 11 children and fed half his block, left to die with his pockets emptied and his killers wearing lipstick instead of ski masks. It wasn't a hit, it wasn't revenge, it was opportunism. Cold, quiet, and merciless. Atlanta woke up different that morning. News broke fast. Shawty Lo dead, but the streets weren't just mourning, they were mad. Not because he died, but because of how he died.
He hugged me, told me he loved me, he left.
The funeral that shut the city down. In Atlanta, when a legend dies, you don't just bury them, you honor the crown. And when Shawty Lo's casket rolled through the same streets he once ruled, the city stopped. Cars pulled over, grown men cried, strangers saluted, because this wasn't just a funeral, this was a farewell parade for a street king.
We out here at the Blue Flame. Give a shout out, you know what I'm saying? Rest in peace, Shawty Lo, you know what I'm saying? Really.
Oh, that's Shawty Lo right there in the house?
Yeah, Shawty Lo.
Oh my God.
Shawty Lo! Turn her up! Must be Tucson! Hey!
The hearse? It wasn't even a hearse. They brought out a white horse-drawn carriage, glass on all sides so everyone could see the casket. Clean, regal, the kind of ride Lo would have smiled at. Behind it, dozens of cars in a slow procession through Bankhead, Bowen Homes, and the neighborhoods that knew his name like a prayer.
Hey, that was Shawty Lo in the hearse. Like, how in the world did I show up at Blue Flame right at the time that Shawty? Oh my God. Oh my God.
People lined the streets, holding signs, pouring liquor, blaring D4L classics from trunks and Bluetooth speakers. They Know, Foolish, They Know remix. You could hear Lo's voice bounce off the walls of abandoned buildings and corner stores, his final verses becoming street hymns. But it wasn't just fans. T.I. showed up. Yeah, the same T.I. he beefed with. The man he once said wasn't really from Bankhead. They'd squashed it in the years before Lo's death, but this was different. Tip didn't come as a rapper. He came as a brother from the same soil. His presence said everything without a word. Respect. Other ATL heavyweights paid their respects too. Future, 2 Chainz, Fabo, even the DJs who spun his early mixtapes pulled up. Blue Flame closed for the day. Trap legend status had turned into martyr status.
Man, Shawty Lo just left Blue Flame in his hearse. Like, this like one of them Prince moments.
Rest in peace, Shawty Lo, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's Shawty Lo right there in the hearse?
Yeah, Shawty Lo.
Oh my God.
But even in all that love, there was a strange silence. The girls, La Rosa and Destiny, were nowhere. Not at the wake, not at the funeral, not in the news, not even online. The city knew. People whispered, but no one said it out loud. Not during the memorial, not while the doves flew into the sky, not while Lo's kids, all 11 of them, stood around his coffin wearing white, looking like royalty and orphans at the same time. And when the casket was lowered, Bankhead didn't just lose a rapper. They lost a protector, a provider, a proof that someone could really make it out. The man who put Bankhead on the map. Before the rap game ever knew his name, the streets of Bowen Homes raised a kid named Carlos Walker. No parents, no handouts, just plain hustle and raw instinct. His mother died when he was still in diapers. His father, an addict lost in the system. So little Carlos got passed around like a duffel bag, aunties, cousins, whoever had room. But the real education didn't come from school. It came from Bankhead's asphalt, from watching OGs handle business, from hearing gunshots before lullabies, from counting up instead of doing homework. By 14, Carlos wasn't a kid anymore. He was in the game, heavy, not just surviving, winning. He learned how to move in silence, how to stack, how to lead. Even the older cats started nodding when he walked in the room. He earned his money, but more than that, he earned respect, and in the streets, that's a currency more valuable than gold. But Lo was sharp. He saw the warning signs. He saw homies catch RICO charges. He saw funerals stack up. He knew the streets were undefeated.
Shawty Lo, that's the that rapped and actually lived that life.
So by 2003, when the heat got too loud and the feds were sniffing around, Lo did what legends do. He pivoted. He took street money and built a label, D4L Records. With a squad, Fabo, McBee, and Stoney, they didn't come in quiet. They came in bouncing. And then they dropped a bomb called Laffy Taffy. A beat so simple it drove producers crazy. A hook so sticky it glued itself into your brain. The industry clowned it, old heads scoffed, but the clubs, the radio, the streets, they went wild. The track hit #1 on Billboard, platinum plaques, world tours, snap music was born, and suddenly, oversized white tees, finger snaps, and shoulder bounces were everywhere, from ATL to Tokyo. D4L wasn't just a group, they were a movement. And Shawty Lo, he became a pioneer, even if the game never gave him his flowers. But here's the thing about Lo, he didn't need the industry's approval. He never changed up. Even with a Bentley and $1 million in the bank, he was still pulling up to Blue Flame, dapping up the same folks who knew him as Carlos.
What do you want people to remember about your father?
That he was a happy person. He helped so many people. That he loved his kids. He loved his family. He loved Bankhead, Bowen Homes. He always taught us to never quit on our dreams. Always to go forward. Always to make sure you go to school. Make sure you go to college. Make sure you go forward with anything you want to achieve in life?
Well, the times where we always went to Six Flags, I was always scared to get on the rides, and he always told me, I'm gonna be right here with you.
He raised 11 kids and battled diabetes without making it a sob story. He stayed accessible, stayed authentic, and stayed in Bankhead, feeding the block, giving back, showing love to the soil that raised him. The world saw a one-hit wonder. Atlanta saw a blueprint. Because Lo didn't just make music, he made history. He proved that a kid from nothing could flip pain into power. That you could be hood, real, and successful without selling your soul. He didn't fake for the cameras. He didn't clean up his past. He stood on it, 10 toes. Because Bankhead didn't need another superstar. They needed a soldier, a leader, a boss. And that's exactly who Shawty Lo was. Forever.
Probably one of the reasons why that group was able to connect, you know, the way we was, because we're from 5 different hoods.
Oh, okay. And, was there tension?
Not, yeah, it was always tension. It was always tension because, you know, everybody done lost somebody, you know,
but Shawty Lo made sure that
Shawty Lo he was Godfather.
And I give the respect, may he rest in peace.
The hustle beef that shook Atlanta, Shawty Lo versus T.I. In Atlanta, rap beef wasn't just for cameras, it was territorial, personal, rooted in real street politics. So when T.I. crowned himself the king of the South, not everyone saluted, especially not Shawty Lo, a man who actually bled for Bankhead.
You have a new artist like Shawty Lo, who's causing friction with you. He's obviously calling you out. You know, he's obviously challenging the throne.
Yeah, I hear
you know. Which, in my opinion, is
if you could call it that.
Well, you know, you see it as competition. You don't take it personally.
I'm sorry.
T.I. had the radio hits, the awards, and Hollywood knocking at his door. But in the streets, questions lingered. Was Tip really from Bankhead, or just repping it when the cameras came on? To Shawty Lo, the answer was clear. He ain't from here, he near here. And in hood terms, that meant you outside the circle. Lo felt that T.I. was rewriting history, claiming the trenches without surviving them. Lo was raised in Bowen homes where survival wasn't a bar, it was the whole verse. So when Tip shouted Bankhead on tracks, Lo saw it as disrespect. The response came quick and cold. Lo dropped Dun Dun, a diss that made eyebrows raise and the streets buzz. He questioned T.I.'s past, called out his affiliations, and lit a fire under Atlanta's rap scene. Then came Foolish, even harder, even more direct. Lines like "You from Riverdale, that's not Atlanta" had the whole city talking. This wasn't playful competition, this was a fight for a legacy, for who really put on for Bankhead. And it spilled into real life. At Club Crucial, Tip's own spot, Shawty Lo showed up deep. No industry suits, no fake smiles, just hood presence. He walked in like he ran it, and in some ways he did. The media tried to spin it, fans chose sides, but the OGs, they were watching for blood. Atlanta had seen too many rap beefs turn into funerals. Eventually, cooler heads stepped in. There were meetings, quiet conversations, unspoken truces, not because they liked each other, but because the cost of war was too damn high. The beef died down, but respect, that stayed.
I mean, I never looked to gain acknowledgement or recognition by mentioning anyone else's name. It was an issue with me and another person. It was an issue with me and another person. It wasn't a publicity stunt or a marketing tool.
Because while T.I. had the crown, Shawty Lo had the concrete, and in Bankhead, that mattered more. Did he know he was coming? Some deaths hit fast, others creep in like shadows, quiet, slow, but heavy with a feeling that you can't shake. In the months leading up to his death, Shawty Lo moved different. Still smiling, still throwing up Bankhead, still hitting stages, but something about him started to change. It wasn't loud, it wasn't obvious, but to those closest to him, it was real. He started talking more about legacy, about the past, about the future he wasn't sure he'd see. In one radio sit-down, Lo leaned into the mic and said, "If I die tonight, I lived 10 lives already." Most listeners heard it and clapped. It sounded like a flex, but the way he said it, with that distant look in his eyes, it felt like the man making peace. Rumors started flying. Some said Lo had beef that hadn't died down. Others whispered he was being followed, that the same streets he put on his back might have turned on him. He wasn't paranoid, he was experienced, and he knew success painted a target on your chest. He talked about karma more often, started cleaning up his circle. He even cut off certain people he felt were moving shady. It was like he felt the walls closing in, like he knew something was coming even if he couldn't name it. Then came that night at Blue Flame. Lo's last Instagram story was everything fans knew and loved. Laughing, flashing cash, surrounded by women, vibes. But just a few hours later, that same energy vanished. Single car crash, 2:20 a.m., Cascade Road, southwest Atlanta. His white Audi flipped over a guardrail and hit 2 trees. But what came after the crash is what turned shock into pure horror. The 2 women in the car with him, they didn't call for help, didn't check if he was alive, didn't wait for an ambulance. They robbed him, took his chain, his watch, his money, and left him bleeding, unconscious, crushed inside the car. They didn't see a man, they saw a payday. The city woke up to the news, headlines, posts, breaking alerts, but Bankhead already knew what they'd lost. Not just a rapper, not just a father, a king. And yet the way it happened felt too precise, like someone knew his route, like someone knew he'd be leaving alone, like maybe it wasn't just an accident, maybe it was a setup. Did he know it was coming? Maybe not the how, but something in his spirit had shifted. He spoke like a man who'd made peace with both the game and the grave. He didn't get to say goodbye, but through his music, his movement, and the streets he repped, Shawty Lo never really left. Why they had to disrespect him after death. For a man who gave Bankhead a voice, Shawty Lo didn't get the respect he deserved when he left this world. The news of his death hit hard, but the aftermath, that's what hurt more. It started with the girls who looted his dead body, like he was just another come-up. They didn't scream for help, didn't even pretend to care. They snatched his chain and dipped. That alone was bad enough.
Rest in peace, Shawty Lo. Today we just found out that the girls that were with him that night, reckless, done snatched out all of Shawty Lo's bread out of his car.
But what followed, that was a different kind of cold. The media called him a one-hit wonder. They reduced a man who built a label, put his city on the map, and raised 11 kids into a punchline. Like Laffy Taffy was all he ever did, like he wasn't a whole blueprint for how to flip street fame into music power. They didn't talk about how he funded D4L from the trap, how he opened doors for Fabo and the entire Snap movement. They didn't mention how he gave back to Bowen Homes, fed the homeless, or mentored the next wave of hustlers trying to rap their way out. Some rappers, they didn't show up. Not at the funeral, not in a post, not even a rest in peace tweet, but they sure played his songs in the club the next week. And then came the memes, the disrespect, clips of him dancing, sound bites turned into jokes. They forgot he was a father. They forgot he was a legend in the A. They forgot this man made it out the mud with no big label, no cosigns, just grit and God. Why did they disrespect him? Because he was too real. Because he didn't play the industry game. Because he never switched up for a check. He wasn't political, he wasn't polished, he was Bankhead, raw and uncut. They hated that he made his own way. They hated that he stayed loyal to the block when they sold out. So when he died, they tried to rewrite his story. But here's the truth. You can't erase what the streets remember. You can't bury what's been built in blood, sweat, and loyalty. They might have disrespected him in headlines, but in Atlanta, Shawty Lo still walk with giants. Legacy ain't bought, it's earned in the mud. When people talk about Atlanta rap royalty, they love to throw out big names, T.I., Luda, Jeezy, Gucci, Future, but none of them carried Bankhead like Shawty Lo did. Because Lo wasn't just rapping the hood, he was the hood. Born in it, bled in it, every move he made was for his people. He didn't just drop songs, he dropped survival blueprints for every kid trying to make $1 out of trauma. Lo didn't chase clout, he didn't fake his story. He owned his flaws. A father to 11 kids, a diabetic who still hit the stage with full energy, a man who went from Bowen Homes floors to Billboard charts. You couldn't dress it up. Lo wasn't flashy for the camera. He was genuine. You'd see him in the Bentley one day and the corner store the next. He never moved out of Atlanta. He never acted like the hood was beneath him once he made it out. And that's why his legacy still breathes today.
Me and Shawty Lo, we're just like real friends. As soon as we met, we had just like a serious, we just started being partners from that day.
Even after the disrespect, even after the betrayal, even after being eluded, clowned, and buried before the world could give him his flowers, his impact lives on. Ask any real ATL native. They'll tell you, Lo showed the blueprint. Turn street money into label money. Put your day ones on. Keep your heart solid no matter the fame. When kids in Bankhead talk about making it, they don't mention record deals. They talk about what Shawty Lo built with his bare hands. You can buy streams, you can buy followers, you can even buy your way onto the charts, but you can't buy respect, you can't buy loyalty, you can't buy what Lo earned in the mud, where no one gave him a shot, and he still shot his way out. His story ain't just about a rapper who died, it's about a man who lived fully, who stayed 10 toes down in a world built to fold you. A man who never ran from where he came from and instead made it famous. So yeah, they tried to downplay him, they tried to forget him, but legends don't die when the music stops. They echo in every corner they touched. And Shawty Lo, he made sure the world heard Bankhead loud and clear, forever.
May he rest in peace.
From Bowen Homes to Bankhead, Shawty Lo wasn't just a rapper, he was the voice of his block, the founder of D4L, and the man who made ATL dance to Laffy Taffy. They tried to bottle him up, rob him at the end, but Atlanta never will. That's all for now. See you soon.